The fugu fish is so poisonous that even the slightest mistake during its preparation can lead to a fatal outcome. Nevertheless, in Japan, fugu is a popular delicacy. Today I will tell you why this devilish little fish is so dangerous and how to survive consuming it. You will also learn how an alarm was declared in a Japanese city because of fugu and what literally shocked the local residents. You won't believe it, but this small fish harbors a threat that surpasses the danger of cyanide by hundreds of times. All the most harmful parts are hidden in its innards and skin. It contains Tetrodotoxin, a powerful neurotoxic poison. Just 1 milliounce of this substance, a tiny drop, is enough to send an adult to the afterlife. One fish is enough to poison an entire group of several dozen people. The most dangerous parts are the liver and roe. They are considered the true concentration of the poison. The intestines are also dangerous, but in the muscles, that is, in the meat itself, there is significantly less poison, though the risk still remains. What is most insidious is that this poison is thermostable. Neither boiling, freezing, nor drying destroys it. The most interesting thing is that fugu does not produce the poison itself. It accumulates it by eating certain marine creatures. Stars, mollusks, which host special bacteria that produce tetrodotoxin. That is, the fish becomes poisonous because of its diet. If fugu is raised in artificial conditions and fed safe food, it will grow completely harmless. The effect of the poison on the human body. Horrible. Once in the bloodstream, it attacks the nervous system. Its target is the sodium channels of nerve cells responsible for transmitting impulses. By blocking these channels, tetrodotoxin effectively cuts off communication between the brain and muscles. Symptoms begin to appear within a range of 30 minutes to several hours after consuming the fish. It all starts with numbness around the mouth and face, then muscle weakness, dizziness, and loss of coordination appear. Gradually, paralysis spreads throughout the body. The unfortunate person loses the ability to move, speak, and swallow. The respiratory muscles, including the diaphragm, also stop receiving signals from the brain and fail. Suffocation ensues. The most shocking aspect of the poisoning is that the victim remains fully conscious almost until the very end. The person finds themselves trapped in a paralyzed body, aware of what is happening but with no way to influence the situation or even call for help. There is currently no effective antidote. The only measure that medical professionals can take is immediate hospitalization and connection to life support systems. If it is possible to maintain breathing and heart function until the poison is eliminated from the body, the victim has a chance for a full recovery without long-term consequences. But the slightest delay or too large a dose of poison makes the outcome fatal. Despite all precautions and the skill of the chefs, fatal cases of fugu poisoning unfortunately are not uncommon. History knows many tragic examples. Perhaps the most famous victim is the legendary kabuki theater actor Mitsugoro Bando VIII. He was called a living national treasure. In 1975, he died of paralysis after attempting for the 4th time to taste the most dangerous part of the fish, the liver, in a Kyoto restaurant. For him, this pursuit of thrills proved fatal. But this is not an isolated case. The statistics are relentless. In Japan alone, from 1996 to 2006, 6 people died from fugu poisoning, and more than 60 were hospitalized. Since 2000, 23 people have died. Moreover, most of them were fishermen or amateurs who dared to prepare the deadly catch themselves without proper knowledge and skills. In other Asian countries, the situation is no better. In Taiwan, 11 deaths have been recorded over 20 years, and in China, 30 in 3 years. In April 2023, an elderly woman in Malaysia died, and her husband fell into a coma after they ate fugu bought at the market and prepared at home. In the USA, in 2007, 2 people in Chicago were affected by the poisonous fish, and in 2014, 2 poisonings were recorded in Minneapolis and 1 in Virginia. All these figures are a grim reminder that fugu does not forgive mistakes. In 1975, there is a known case that vividly illustrates how serious the danger of fugu is, even in modern Japan, with its strictest control. In 2018, in the city of Gamagori, a local supermarket mistakenly sold 5 fugu fish, from which the liver was not removed, one of the most poisonous parts. The authorities immediately raised an alarm using a special alert system and urged residents to check the fish they had purchased. It was a real commotion. 3 dangerous carcasses were quickly found and neutralized, but 2 remained unfound, posing a deadly threat to those who might have bought them. This incident shows that the human factor can nullify even the strictest rules. And the rules are indeed ironclad. Due to the high risk, the consumption of fugu in Japan was banned for a long time, as was its fishing. Now the situation is different, but the control is unprecedented. Firstly, only those chefs are allowed to prepare and serve fugu, who have undergone many years of training and obtained a special state license. The exams are incredibly difficult. One must not only know dozens of types of fugu and the methods to neutralize them, but also in practice, to perfectly fillet the fish within a limited time. And the cherry on top, the examinee is required to eat what they have prepared themselves. Secondly, there is a strict prohibition on consuming the most poisonous organs, especially the liver and roe. Thirdly, restaurants are required to keep records of the fish and dispose of the poisonous waste according to special rules in sealed containers. Similar bans are being attempted in other countries, such as Thailand, but they are not always effective there. Fortunately, in the sea, pufferfish do not pose a significant threat to a person who is simply swimming or diving. They are not aggressive and do not attack first. Their poison is contained inside, in the organs, and is not released into the water or through the skin upon simple contact. Of course, if you try to grab the fish, it might bite with its powerful beak, right? Yes, and a prick from the spines will be unpleasant, but the deadly danger comes specifically from consuming it as food, not from encountering it in its natural habitat. Fugu, or more precisely, the pufferfish, is an entire family of pufferfish species, comprising more than 20 types. Most often, when people talk about the fugu dish, they mean the brown pufferfish, but its other relatives also end up on the table. These fish predominantly inhabit the marine and brackish waters of the northwestern part of the Pacific Ocean, off the coasts of Japan, China, Korea, and the Russian Far East. They usually stay close to the bottom, preferring bays, coves, and coastal areas at depths of up to 100 meters. Fugu are quite remarkable in appearance. They lack the usual scales, their bodies are covered with thick elastic skin, and some species have small spines. The mouth is small, but the teeth are fused together, forming a beak-like structure which the fish easily uses to crack open the shells of mollusks and crustaceans, their main food source. Their most famous feature is the ability to inflate when threatened. The fish rapidly gulps water or air if it is on the surface, and its elastic stomach stretches, turning the body into a spiky ball, several times larger than its usual size. This is an excellent defense mechanism against predators. Preparing fugu is not just cooking. It is a true art, requiring incredible precision and knowledge, comparable to the work of a surgeon or a sapper. I was surprised to learn that chefs working with this fish use special, very sharp knives, sometimes an entire set for different stages. The whole process of cutting is a complex, meticulously detailed procedure, sometimes consisting of 30 steps. It all begins with the careful removal of the fins. They are often dried to later be added to sake for a special aroma and effect. Then the skin is removed. This is also a delicate moment, as the skin of some species is edible, but it needs to be thoroughly cleaned of small spines, if there are any. The most crucial stage is the extraction of the internal organs. The chef must remove the liver, roe or milt, intestines, kidneys, eyes, with jeweler-like precision, all parts where the deadly poison is concentrated. The slightest careless movement of the knife and the poison can get onto the edible meat, turning the delicacy into a deadly weapon. The blood is also thoroughly washed away. After removing all the dangerous parts, what remains is the clean fillet. It is sliced into the thinnest, almost transparent slices for raw consumption. Milt can also be used. It is considered a great delicacy. All poisonous waste is immediately placed in a special lockable container for subsequent disposal through incineration. Every action of the chef is aimed at one goal, ensuring the guests' safety while leaving only the unique taste and the thrill of being close to risk. Indeed, most often the introduction to fugu begins with consuming it raw as sashimi. The chef slices the fish fillet not just thinly, but almost to transparency, which requires incredible skill. The slices are often arranged on a plate like petals, imitating a flower, and are eaten by dipping them in a special sauce. Usually, this is a mixture of soy sauce and citrus juice with the addition of grated radish with pepper and tender green onions. The taste of such a dish is very delicate, and the texture is firm. However, it doesn't stop at raw fugu. A highly valued option is when pieces of the fish are cooked in a communal pot with broth right at the table, along with soy curd, tofu, mushrooms, and seasonal vegetables. And after the main ingredients are eaten, it's time for the final touch. Rice and egg are added to the remaining rich broth, resulting in an incredibly aromatic and hearty thick porridge soup. Fans of crispy crust will appreciate pieces of fugu fried in deep oil. It is also prepared more simply by frying in a pan or on a grill. the skin is not wasted either. After carefully removing the spines, it is blanched and served as an appetizer, often with the same citrus soy sauce. It has an interesting, slightly jelly-like texture. And we must not forget about fugu milt. This delicacy is often served separately, slightly fried, blanched, or added to soup. It has a delicate, creamy taste. The meal is often accompanied by hot sake, into which a roasted fugu fin is dipped for aroma. As you can see, Japanese chefs have found many ways to bring out the flavor of this unique fish. What makes people consciously try a dish that could kill them? What is this deadly risk for? Fugu enthusiasts describe its taste as incredibly refined, almost elusive, comparing it to the exquisite smoothness of silk. The famous Japanese ceramicist Kitaoji Rosanjin was adamant. He believed that the taste of fugu is incomparable, and anyone who tries it several times becomes its slave. As for those who are afraid to eat it, they can only be pitied, but it's not just about the taste. It is believed that fugu provides special sensations, and the highest skill of the chef is the ability to leave just enough tetrodotoxin in the meat to induce a slight euphoria in the diner. A barely noticeable tingling or numbness. Some gourmets describe it as a wave that gradually paralyzes the body from the legs to the arms, then to the jaws, leaving only the eyes mobile, and then in a moment everything returns to normal. This experience of balancing on the edge of being and non-being, according to some, has deep cultural roots connected to the ancient Japanese perception of death as the ultimate point of beauty. Fugu offers a chance to touch this limit and, if lucky, return back. It would seem that scientists have already learned to cultivate completely safe, non-toxic fish simply by changing its diet. But it did not gain much success among gourmets. Without its deadly threat, without this aura of risk, fugu became just a fish. Tasty, but ordinary. It turned out that the danger itself, the game with death, is an integral part of its appeal. Not without reason. Connoisseurs are willing to pay the highest price for fugu precisely in the spring, when it is considered the most poisonous. Risk is indeed the main seasoning. So you've decided to try fugu. Where should you look for this delicacy and how to avoid trouble? The main place where fugu is part of the culinary culture and where its preparation has been elevated to an art form is, of course, Japan. It is there that the overwhelming majority of restaurants offering this dish are concentrated. The city of Shimonoseki is especially renowned, unofficially called the Fugu capital, as well as Osaka and Tokyo, where you can find many specialized establishments. When choosing the right restaurant, you need to consider several factors. How do you choose a restaurant to ensure the experience is thrilling, not fatal? The first and most important rule is to look for a license. In Japan, only chefs who have undergone rigorous training and passed the most difficult exams receive official permission to work with fugu. This license is your main guarantee of safety. It is usually displayed prominently in the restaurant. Prefer establishments that specialize specifically in fugu. Chefs in such places have constant practice and the highest qualifications. Pay attention to the restaurant's reputation, ratings, reviews. Established, well-known places value their name and the safety of their customers. A price that is too low for a dish made from wild poisonous fugu should be a warning sign. It might indicate a lack of license or an attempt to pass off farmed, non-poisonous fish as an extreme delicacy. And most importantly, never, under any circumstances, try to prepare fugu yourself or buy it from unlicensed sellers, such as at markets. Most tragic incidents occur precisely because of such overconfidence. If you are outside of Japan, finding a place that prepares genuine poisonous fugu, according to all the rules, is extremely difficult and risky. It's better to trust Japanese masters in their native environment. The deadly danger of fugu is widely known, yet there is a fish whose poison is even more destructive. This is the stonefish or rockfish. It is considered the most poisonous on the planet. It expertly camouflages itself as an ordinary boulder covered with corals and inhabits the bottom near coral reefs in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Its main danger lies in the sharp spines of its dorsal fin. Each of these 13 spines has glands at the base that produce a complex cocktail of toxins. Unlike fugu, whose poison must be ingested, the stonefish actively injects its venom when pressure is applied to the spine, for example, if accidentally stepped on. The consequences of a sting are dreadful. Unbearable pain that can lead to shock and loss of consciousness, rapid swelling, tissue necrosis, paralysis, and without timely medical assistance, death. Although the stonefish's venom is incredibly potent and acts very quickly, unlike the tetrodotoxin of fugu, there is a specific antidote. Strangely enough, stonefish meat is also used in Japanese national cuisine. There, it is valued for its taste and texture. This delicacy is usually consumed in the form of sashimi, that is raw with sauce, or deep fried? Why is this safe? The fact is that only the glands at the base of the spines are poisonous. The fish, meat itself, does not contain poison. Therefore, by very carefully removing the dorsal fin with all the spines and skin, its fillet becomes safe to eat. Here, such a complex internal cleaning as with fugu is not required, but extreme caution is necessary during the initial processing due to the poisonous spines. Fugu has long gone beyond Japanese cuisine and has become a full-fledged cultural symbol. Its deadly reputation, unique preparation process, and almost mystical allure made it a favorite element in movies, anime, books, and even video games. In these stories, fugu is always surrounded by an aura of mystery, risk, and death, the perfect ingredients for a memorable plot. Just recall the episode from the series The Simpsons, where Homer tries fugu in a Japanese restaurant and finds himself on the brink of life and death. This plot became not just a joke, but a true satire on extreme culinary preferences and the unpredictability of fate. In Japanese dramas, fugu often serves as a test of courage or a symbol of an elite lifestyle. And in crime films, it is used as a tool for sophisticated murder when the victim is given a slightly incorrect portion. There are also myths. One of the most popular. As if one can learn to distinguish safe and poisonous pieces of fugu by taste or even by smell. This is complete fiction. Neither the color, nor the smell, nor the texture of fugu meat will indicate the presence of tetrodotoxin. Only the experience and knowledge of a certified chef allow distinguishing the dangerous from the safe. And yes, another myth, as if fugu causes hallucinations. In reality, the sensations from mild poisoning are more like tingling, slight stupor, and even euphoria, but not visual or auditory illusions. Fugu has become so symbolic that in some Japanese temples, you can find amulets dedicated to it, supposedly for luck or protection from death. Such irony. A deadly fish becomes a talisman of longevity. But a much stranger story happened with an anime series, where the hero learned to use fugu poison as a weapon. After the episode aired in Japan, interest in the fish sharply increased among the youth, and several unlicensed restaurants even received fines for dangerously serving fugu in the anime style. What happens if reality starts to resemble fiction? Although it seems that fugu, tetemaosu, is just a delicacy for thrill seekers, in reality, it is also the subject of serious criminal schemes. Tetrodotoxin is one of the most potent natural poisons, and its concentration in the organs of fugu makes the fish an object of interest not only for gourmets but also for smugglers. Yes, fugu has been illegally exported from Japan to other countries despite the bans. This especially often happens with dried or frozen specimens in which the liver or roe is left. The most poisonous parts. They are transported under the guise of souvenirs, research samples, or even counterfeit seafood. The trick is simple. On the market, such parts of fugu fetch enormous sums, especially among wealthy gourmets who seek the true taste of danger. The most high-profile case occurred in the mid-2000s when a shipment of frozen fish arrived at the port of New York. The document stated that it was ordinary tuna, but experienced security experts noticed discrepancies in shape and weight. An inspection revealed it was fugu and with liver. The legal proceedings went on for years, and eventually, 3 people received actual prison sentences. In some countries, like South Korea and China, there have also been recorded cases of illegal fugu being sold in underground restaurants. In Malaysia, there was even a case where chefs were preparing fugu on the black market using recipes found on the internet. What is particularly dangerous is that such operations attract not only culinary enthusiasts but also criminals looking to use the poison as a weapon. Considering that tetrodotoxin is tasteless, odorless, and quickly destroys the nervous system, it is difficult to detect in the body after death. This makes it potentially the perfect weapon without traces, at least in the eyes of wrongdoers. While you are ordering sushi, someone is transporting real poison across the ocean. Scientific progress has not bypassed the fugu fish either. For several decades, scientists around the world have been trying to unravel the secret of its deadly poison and learn to use it for the benefit of humanity. And surprisingly, they are starting to succeed. Firstly, as already mentioned, fugu becomes poisonous not by itself, but due to bacteria in its food. Using this fact, Japanese and Chinese farms have long been breeding completely safe fugu by raising it in controlled conditions. But scientists have gone further. In laboratories, they have managed to synthesize tetrodotoxin without resorting to the fish at all. Such artificial poison in small doses has begun to be researched as a potential remedy for chronic pain. Its effectiveness turned out to be higher than that of morphine and without addiction. An even more astonishing direction is the use of tetrodotoxin molecules in oncology. Some studies show that the toxin can block tumor growth by affecting the ion channels of cells. Everything is still at the experimental stage, but it is already clear that the fish that frightens chefs may become a salvation for patients. A more futuristic project is related to biotechnology. Startups are developing genetically modified fugu species that will have enhanced flavor but without the toxin. The goal is to create a gourmet product of the future that is safe, tasty, and accessible. There are also projects where fugu is being trained in certain behavioral patterns to use it as a bioindicator of water pollution. Since fugu is sensitive to toxins, its behavior can inform ecologists about marine pollution. Science is turning fear into a tool. Who are they? People for whom fugu is not just a delicacy, but a way of life. Among them are many celebrities, billionaires, and simply thrill seekers willing to pay thousands of dollars for a brush with danger. One of the most famous fugu enthusiasts was a former Prime Minister of Japan, who reportedly ordered it almost weekly. His personal chef underwent a separate security check, and a well-known Hollywood actor who starred in action movies shared in an interview how he was captivated by it. The tingling sensation in his lips that he felt after tasting fugu in Kyoto. He described it as a kiss of death that he wanted to experience over and over again. Some billionaires host private dinners where an invited chef prepares fugu as a show. One Japanese banker ordered 3 different types of fugu dishes in one evening, insisted on having the liver prepared, and left a tip the size of a small apartment. These meals are not about the food. They are about status, demonstrating power over fear, and challenging fate. There are even members-only clubs where participants discuss different types of fugu, preparation methods, and even the degree of numbness after the meal. Some of them collect the knives used by chefs and keep them as relics. What drives people to the edge of life and death? Fugu has long since spread beyond Japan. In the USA, it is served only in select restaurants under strict control and with pre-cleaned fish. In Europe, it is more often banned than allowed, but the interest does not wane. In Asia, underground markets thrive, and gourmets seek out the real dangerous fugu, that offers a sharp sense of risk. Scientific farms cultivate safe species, scientists study the toxin as a medicine, and chefs try to preserve the magic of the dish without the threat of death. But the less toxic the fugu, the more it loses its essence. After all, it's not just about the taste. The real fugu is a test, a ritual, and a challenge. And as long as there are those willing to risk it for a unique experience, it will continue to exist. Because sometimes the taste of life is only felt on the edge. Fugu fish from the menu is an extreme delicacy, capable of simultaneously pleasing a discerning palate and tingling the nerves. Not just food, but a whole ritual, balancing between culinary art and deadly risk. I hope this story about the most dangerous delicacy was interesting to you. Thank you for watching.